Hi, and welcome to this screencast of OSX Mountain Line, the latest release for July 2012 of the Mac operating system. It is June the 12th today, the day after WWDC 2012 kicked off, and this is my review on the details raised. So this is the most advanced operating system available. I'm just going to switch over to the UK site for this so we can get accurate pricings and accurate figures for my YouTubers in the UK. So as you can see on the first page, I'll just go back. The world's most advanced desktop operating system gets even better, makes Mac, iPad and iPhone work even better together. Coming this July for only $13.99. That is a brilliant price. I thought when they brought out Line it was a good price at the $29 and sort of £20 price. But $13.99, you just can't go wrong with that. Okay, so the first main part that they're talking about with Mountain Lion is iCloud working better. So instead of Lion, where iCloud was bought in with Lion, Mountain Lion has been built with iCloud already integrated well into it. So it's easy to set up and your ID can be split across different computers. So as soon as you sign in, your mail, contacts and calendars, messages and FaceTime and Game Center are automatically signed in as they would be if you sign into the apps individually. You also have the options for documents in the cloud that allow you to have a document open on your Mac, edit it there, and the updated ones on the iPad and the iPhone. And they showed in the keynote speech that you could edit something on the iPhone and the iPad with the document open on the Mac, and it would update automatically without having to reopen or refresh that page. This is compatible at the moment with Pages, Numbers and Keynote, but the APIs for third-party developers are available in there, so it can be adapted to work with third-party applications. The next item on the list I'm going to go through is reminders and notes. Not too much detail on this because they are identical to what is on the Mac, on the iPhone or iPad. It basically just gives you the opportunity to look at your reminders on the Mac and your notes without having to get out your iOS device or try and email it or re-put them into calendars or something like that. That's basically it. Okay, Messages is something that's already out in beta form for OSX. I shall just pop it up quickly so you can see. There's some test ones that I've been doing myself between me, and it works very well. The only small problem that they are fixing with Mountain Lion and iOS 6 is the ability that you can merge your account details into one account. So I find I sometimes get people that are sending me an iMessage to my phone number and it won't appear on my iPad, my MacBook Pro or the iMac. So now enabling you can set up an account with your Apple ID and your phone, your email, all your email addresses and all that all come to one account. So if you get a message come through to one account, it will apply it to all accounts in that area. I think that's under here for the messages everywhere part. Yeah, with iMessage, start a conversation on your Mac and continuing it on your iPhone or iPad. Okay, the next part we're going to go look at is Notification Center. Same again as Notes, this is something that's been brought across from iOS and is a very good feature. It enables you to have a unified area for all notifications to appear for all of your apps. As you can see in the screenshot here of the notification center, it shows it's on the right hand side, and it's made by finding on the trackpad using 2 fingers and swiping from the right hand side of the trackpad towards the center. And it's at the moment works with all core apps, so calendar, app store, messages, FaceTime, mail, reminders, and the APIs are in the developer SDK for developers to add notifications to come through that rather than through little windows. So when you have the notifications come through, as we can see, they come through very similar to an iOS banner at the top, but they start on the top right and they will disappear quickly if you don't answer them straight away. I think there's also a setting in there to choose when you want them to disappear by. And there's obviously ones for things like meetings and reminders, where you get an option as well as showing them. You can actually close them as well at that point. Like I'm saying, this is the swipe to view on any app, even a full screen app. You can just swipe with your 2 fingers on the trackpad to open up the notification center. Next part is Power Nap. Max basically it enables you to do all your basic updating things, so updating applications, getting new iMessages, getting new email, iTunes Match syncing, notes, photo stream, all the rest of it, while the computer is in sleep mode. Unfortunately, this only applies to the new MacBook Pro and the new MacBook Air, and that's it. So unfortunately, that's not a brilliant feature for everyone else that will be upgrading to Mountain Lion. It'd be much better to be offered as a new software for the hardware rather than part of the new software package. Dictation is very much like Siri, but more like the dictation for your keyboard rather than asking questions. It purely allows you to say what you want to be typed. That's it. No searches, no responses. Now we move on to sharing. Sharing is very similar to how it's done in Finder, where you can right click and choose how you want to share it, but there's a lot more in depth on what you can share and where you can share it. So from Safari in this image, you can see you can add it to your reading list, add bookmark, email the page, message, Twitter, and new within Mountain Lion is Facebook integration as well. As it says, coming this autumn, Facebook. Here's a great status update. The reason it comes in this autumn rather than coming with the July release is because it was also integrated deeply with iOS 6. So they couldn't really bring out the Facebook part for Mac without having the iOS part at the same time. So basically it'll enable you to update your status, add photos, share items, all to Facebook without having to go to Facebook's webpage itself. Now that can be sometimes helpful if you need it, but I find myself having Facebook and a few other websites open up every time I load up my computer anyway, so it isn't as much of a concern to me not having that and having it there to do it inside. As well as the sharing part, you have contacts. This part I think will be fine, but may be a problem for some users, as I know I've got people that I would have on my Facebook list, but I wouldn't have in my phone or want to ring them. I don't speak to them on the phone, but I do chat to them on Facebook. So I could see my phone contact list becoming so much bigger for no real reason. So hopefully you can remove ones if you don't want them, rather than just having to have all of them at once. And the final part of the Facebook integration is obviously notifications. This part I will enjoy quite well, because if I really want to post something quickly, I'll be able to do it straight from this little window in the notification center. and also I'll get notifications from Facebook in the notification centre. So someone posts on one of my photos or replies to one of my comments, this will become straight into the Mac rather than having the web page open. I find sometimes, even on the MacBook where I've only got one display, I will be looking at, say, on a different app on full screen, and to have Safari on full screen on obviously another page, and I can have Facebook open, get a notification or something like that, but because I'm in the other app and it thinks I'm open, it doesn't give me the tone to say you've got a new notification or someone's responded to your message. So that can be slightly concerning. I'd also quite like for Facebook to include some sort of messaging client into iChat, or sorry, the new Messages app. That would be quite a good integration, but I don't think that happens at the start. Next thing to move on to is Twitter. Very much all there from Lion. It's just really been allowed to do all the same things that Facebook can now do and share them from all the apps. Another thing being brought across from iOS. AirPlay, that's quite interesting depending on how you want to use it. If you go to places and they've got Apple TVs, unfortunately I've never found anywhere that I've gone to watch a presentation or gone to do a presentation that they have an AirPlay compatible device to use. It's always a projector with a cable, so that's not as important to me, but maybe for some people, if they go to that kind of place, I can understand it working well in offices and that. If your boardroom has an Apple TV, so you can share stuff and photos and documents and stuff up onto the bigger screen, makes sense. But whether the infrastructure is quite there at the moment, I'm not sure. Probably a much better idea if Apple bring out their own physical television set to use that with. Game Center, another one from iOS, brought across. Only going to touch on this briefly. It's basically a multiplayer Xbox Live type, PlayStation Network type equivalent for iOS. Hopefully we'll introduce more games to come along, and the ability that you can play games from iOS against someone playing on the Mac. We'll have to see how that works, whether there's an advantage playing on the Mac version or an advantage playing on the iOS version. And also finding out whether it causes any problem with lag or that playing on there. I think that's under the Game Center everywhere. Yeah, so basically here we are, you can see someone playing Real Racing here, and on the iPad and on the Mac playing together. Could be a good idea. I quite like the idea of it, that if I'm away somewhere and I've got my MacBook with me, I can play a game on a physical keyboard and mouse the same way I bet play a game if it was on an iPad. Depending on the type of game, you can sometimes find certain games. For example, I don't personally play it, but Minecraft, if Minecraft came into the Game Center, then you could play with someone that's playing on a PC, someone's playing on an iPad, and someone's playing on a Mac, where the mouse and that makes it a lot better than trying to play it with touchscreen controls. Next feature is Gatekeeper. It basically just a rebranding of the security and privacy area of System Manager. Sorry, System Preferences. It gives you some more security controls over the standard OS and more control wherever you want stuff to happen. I personally just run Avast on mine, so don't think I'll be using this very often, and I wouldn't. The real setting you can change is where you want stuff from Mac App Store, and identified developers, or anywhere. Well, mine had to be set to anywhere because I download from multiple places, not just from the Mac App Store, but for the home user that doesn't, possibly a helpful feature for them. Safari, right, lots of changes here. Smart Search, Unified Search Box, should have been here a long time ago. Nothing really more to say about that. And Tab View, that's quite interesting. You get a nice visual tab view to see the tabs you've got open, and you can also see what tabs in the reading list area you have open on your other devices. For if you're reading something on the Mac and you have to go out to read it on your iPad or your iPhone, or vice versa, you're reading something as you're on your way home in a taxi, and you think, oh, I want to carry on reading it, but I can use the Mac. It's got a bigger screen and easier to read on there. Right, all new features for China. Okay, this isn't something that personally affects me, but basically they've offered better languages, better text input. The Baidu, I think it is Baidu, it's the leading Chinese search provider since Google pulled out of China, so that's now a built-in option. You can have that as your default search browser. And better microblogging services as well, we're posting to that, and there's also better email integration for that. Right, we'll go through some of the terms and conditions on this. iCloud requires iOS 5, basically. PowerNap requires a Mac notebook with built-in flash storage. May require a firmware update. So that basically means you can't use your Mac Mini, you can't use your Mac Pro, you can't use your iMac, you can't use any MacBook that has a hard drive. It must be a flash storage device. Okay, Game Center is available on iPad, iPhone 3GS or later, iPod Touch 3rd generation later, and Mac computers with Mountain Lion on. iCloud tabs is on iPhone and iPod and iPad, but requires iOS 6. And the tests that they've done on the JavaScript engine, something I forgot, it's the fastest JavaScript engine on a web browser in the new Safari, was completed in June 2012 using SunSpider. Okay, with 21.5 inch, 2.7 GHz Core i5 Mac with 4 gigs of RAM. On a pre-release Safari, Chrome version 19, Firefox version 13, and the pre-release of 10.8, and Internet Explorer on Windows 7 Ultimate Service Pack 1 64-bit. It also shows that apps shown in the Game Center photo, I shall just show you now, there, are purely for fictional uses, as obviously games haven't been made for Game Center yet, because it was only announced to have come out officially yesterday, minus the developer preview that's been out for a little while now, and that Real Racing 2 will be out later this year for the Mac. What's something I will be quite interested over the game side is that hopefully they will combine a freeway app, whereas at the moment you can get some apps with a little plus symbol next to the purchase price or free that indicates that the app will work for iPhone and iPad. So you buy one version and it splits it to the two versions on which device you're using it on. I'm hoping they will combine that to the freeway device. You could buy something like Real Racing on your iPad and still use it on your Mac without having to repurchase it again for the different device. This is something they're obviously going to start to attack the gaming platforms of Xbox and PlayStation with. The ability that combining your iPad with an Apple TV gives you what is essential a games console at home on the big screen. So maybe that will be an integration, and you can imagine using something like a Mac Mini with a trackpad or a mouse and a keyboard, or even potentially in future a games controller to control your games on there. There are a few games where you can use the Mac as your display and you play the game on the Mac and you use the iPhone as the controller for it. That's something that Apple could go down to make official to them, that you use your iPhone as the controller. Very similar to what Microsoft do in the Xbox with the Xbox window, I think it is, no, Xbox Glass, where you can use your tablet or smartphone as a controller to do some keyboard type stuff and some mouse and click stuff on your Xbox 360. Right, so this has been a review of the details released at WWDC 2012 for OSX Mountain Lion. Thanks for watching this video, and don't forget to subscribe to my new videos.